All right, excited to have back our pal from the Locked On Kings podcast, ABC 10, and good buddy of ours, Matt George. How are you, pal?
Good, Connor. It's so great to be back on the Breakaway, man. It's been a while, but this is a feature podcast for me. I listen all the time, so to be able to come back on is a real treat. So I'm excited.
Well, radio guy turned TV guy, you are. Luckily, you have the face for TV, so that's
Eh,
good.
eh. Makeup helps.
But good to see you. I know I think the last time we talked was that final playoff game the Republic lost to Phoenix. I know you were there. What were your thoughts on the season for Republic overall and that final game?
Just heartbreaking, I thought this was the year, and you could see just based off the conversation that we had with Mark Briggs after, and the reaction from the players, like everybody, the entire belief was, and I think almost everybody in Heart Health Park, the belief was like, yeah, Sacramento's not losing that match. So for them to lose the way they did, I mean, that's the beauty and the pain of soccer, right? In those single elimination games, and even if there's only 10 minutes left, you could be the head for 80 minutes, but those final 10 minutes or even stoppage time can come and get you. So I mean, that's just the way the game goes. I don't know. Some people think it's easier to swallow now that Phoenix went and won it all, right? So at least you lost to the champs. I still don't feel that way because I think, to me, it's like the same thing, tying it to the Kings in 2002 when the Kings lost to the Los Angeles Lakers, who went on to beat down the New Jersey Nets to win the championship. Everybody knows that the Kings moved on. The Kings would have done the exact same thing to New Jersey. I feel like it would have been the same with the Republic. They won that match. They would have won their second title, in my opinion. But a tough way to end it. But, I expect that kind of sting and pain to make this club better. I've already seen the moves that they're making. I know Mark and Todd and everybody's already hard at work on next season. So now we just got to hit the fast forward button on this winter and get back to soccer time.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, the other thing is I wanted to talk to you about is, and you've talked about this, and you know Briggs and Mike Brown well, is their relationship together, which I think is one of the cooler things. We've seen Mike Brown come to a few games. I don't think he was allowed to come to a games after a while. You obviously know the reasoning behind that, yeah?
Yeah, Mike's not the best good luck charm, which is such a shame because he's such a cheerleader for the team. He's such a cheerleader for the game. I mean, two phenomenal human beings, first and foremost, right? Like I've had the opportunity to get to know Mark very, very well over the last handful of years. I first met Mark at Rodrigo Lopez's return to Sacramento press conference the first time. His first return, not his second return. And established a great relationship with Mark, and it's impossible not to love the guy. I mean, he's so passionate about what he does, such a phenomenal leader. He's one of those guys that he says 10 words and you want to run through a brick wall. And it doesn't surprise me at all that Mike is right there with him, right? Because Mike is so well respected around the league. And it's because Mike knows how to make connections with people. And Mike does not put himself above anybody because of his position or having one of 30 jobs in the NBA or the money that he's making. Like the idea that he will connect with the local head coach of the soccer team, the professional soccer team in the city that he's coaching in, that's not foreign to him at all. So I love to hear that the two connected, that the two spend time together. I think, I mean, of course, soccer and basketball are two completely different sports, but there's so much about this Sacramento fan base and the Sacramento way of doing things that they can work together and learn from each other and connect with each other. So I hope that's a relationship that continues to blossom, because I think we're looking at, when they're done, two potential Sacramento legends in their own right in their coaching positions.
I was going to say, you led me to my next point, which is the last 2 years is the first time both the Kings and the Republic have been good. And it's felt like they've built off each other in positive ways. Just from fandom in Sacramento, I had a great time. You could talk about Sac State and UC Davis football both being good. Like there's just a lot of positive things happening in Sacramento from a fan perspective. And seeing the way now that Coach Brown, I don't know if he's going to be allowed back at games because he was at 2 games, I think 2 or 3 games, 3 losses, right? Yep. Is that the 3? Yeah. But we saw Jordy Fernandez at the playoff game, so he's allowed. At least he was. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it's definitely a good time. What, you're looking confused at me? No, was he not there?
No, Jordy definitely was. I was curious if Leandro Barbosa has been to a match, because Barbosa, he's a huge soccer guy, huge Brazil fan. He's from Brazil. And I remember when the World Cup was going on, how locked in Barbosa was to those matches. He'd have a phone set up or like leaning against the basket while he was helping players warm up because the World Cup was happening during the wintertime during the Kings season. So I'd be shocked if Barbosa hasn't been out there, but we got to break that streak for Mike too. Yeah. Maybe it's just the season, got to refresh, come back, because Mike's too good to stay away, and he loves the atmosphere at Heart Health Park.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good point. I think the other thing too about Mike is and Mark is coaching is so much just it's obviously important to have X's and O's and all that, but it's so much about relationships with players and how to. I know Mike Brown does a good job of this. You covered this about his contracts that he has players with throughout the season. Mark does similar things, and they're different in different ways. But there's got to be so much to learn and to be able to bounce ideas off of, even though it's a different sport. Coaching in a way is so much about making sure guys are bought in. And I feel like Coach Brown and Coach Briggs are so similar in that way.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, Connor. I think it is essential as a coach in whatever league and whatever sport, especially on the professional level, that you know how to manage human beings and manage personalities and manage egos and connect with people, right? The X's and O's side and the strategy side is important, but you'll see a lot of the strategy guys are the ones that are assisting the head coach, right? And most coaches will give those guys all the credit in the world. Now, of course, Mark and Mike both have their X's and O's and their style. And I've seen Mark in action at practices and how he can survey a training session, survey a whole field and be able to break down. So I know there's X's and O's and strategy in both of their heads, but it's also how well you manage those personalities, getting them to give their all for you, finding ways to make different personalities and different players work together. Because it's one thing to have an idea of how you want to play, but when you have a incredible tandem like a Rodrigo Lopez and a Russell Cicerone, right, and how you want to make those two work together and coexist, that goes beyond just strategy. You have to make sure that you're managing kind of the connection that they form, not to mention from front to back all the way, if you're including like Vitiello and goal and your defenders and everything. So it's all about like, you have to be a leader in the sense that you're managing those personalities, making those connections, making sure everybody is bought in and keeping them engaged by being what Mike says. Mike Brown is always talking about, like he's always honest with his players. He never lies to his players. If they play bad or they do something wrong, he'll tell them. If they do something great, he'll tell them. And he's hard on the guys when he needs to be hard on the guys. And he wants them to come back at him and clap back at him and prove him wrong. He had a moment this season where he got on Keegan Murray for not taking a shot. And then a couple possessions later, Keegan Murray hit the shot, turned to Mike and gave him a little FU, and Mike loved it. And I'm sure there's been interactions at times with Mark and his players to the same thing, prove me wrong type thing, right? Yeah. So the more that those two can work together, Mike and Mark, and figure out how to improve. They're already incredible at being leaders and connecting with their players, but how they could learn from each other and even improve on that, that's just going to make them better.
I agree. And it's a lot of fun for sure. And I listen, it's such a positive thing to have those two guys have good relationships. And it kind of brings the camaraderie between the two organizations together through the head coaches is fantastic as well. I wanted to ask you about the in-season tournament. We're recording this on a Monday ahead of the quarterfinal of Sacramento taking on the Pelicans tonight. Little soccer bleeding into basketball, huh, Matt? You liking it?
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love the single elimination style. It's not a traditional playoff series, so it's a meaningful game where on one night any team can win. So I'm a little surprised. I'm not going to lie. The West did a little bit of a better job than the East did, because the main top teams in the West, if you go back to last year, did not make it, with the exception of the Kings. But the Lakers are still in, the Phoenix Suns are still in, and then you have the Kings and the Pelicans, two kind of two smaller market teams who are both good and both established. On the Eastern Conference side, you still have the Celtics in, you have the Milwaukee Bucks in, right. The Indiana Pacers made it, and they're a pretty fun story. But what I loved about the idea of the in-season tournament is that in addition to kind of the high dramatic single elimination games that we're going to get early on in the season, like the fact that there's this meaningful of a game on December 4th in the NBA is pretty awesome. I think it's going to open the door in the future for teams to make those cup runs very similar to the U.S. Open Cup run of the Sacramento Republic a couple seasons ago, where it's just this improbable team that probably won't make a deep playoff run or might not even make the playoffs in the NBA, but they make a run and beat some juggernauts and all of a sudden make it to Vegas and win the in-season tournament. Like, I think that's the NBA is opening the door to that. Plus the theatrics of everything being held in Vegas. Like, this is something that soccer around the world, whether it's the FA Cup in England or the US Open Cup here, or even the World Cup tournament, like these tournaments do such a good job of running parallel to regular seasons for clubs and adding a new dynamic that fans can buy into, or at the very least opening up opportunity for teams to give other players and younger talent an opportunity to play meaningful games to help their development. So I only think it's a good thing, and the NBA is very happy with the results so far.
I mean, how can they not be, right? Listen, I'm telling you right now, I am fired up for tonight. I have like a little watch party. I'm going over to my in-laws house, like, just to watch the game. It's December 4th. It's not a playoff game. So that, I think that says a lot. And the other thing too is, I think it's going to expand, is my guess. I think they're going to make it a little different. I think they're going to make it, maybe have a little, maybe they don't even need more incentives, but I feel like they might create a little more of an incentive in the future. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And you're absolutely right. The Open Cup is a perfect comp, other than the fact that you have multiple leagues in it. Say the G League was in this term, which isn't going to happen, but theoretically that would be a way to make it the Open Cup. They're not going to do that, but it's definitely interesting. All right. The reason I had you on, we did 12 minutes on a lot of important conversation. However, it's off-season time for us, Matt. It's the Kings are playing well. It's time for Kings and Republic player comps. So
I love it.
I don't really know how this is going to go. I'm going to give you, I have 5, and I think I have one more off the top of my head, but I have 5.
Okay.
But listen, there's not that. It's hard to make comps. I know you've done elements like this on your podcast too, on your daily podcast, the Locked On Kings, where you're looking for content constantly. So I'm going to give you mine. You tell me what your thoughts are. And then if you think I should tweak it, make them different. If you have others, you let me know. All right.
Okay. I'm in. I like this.
First one is a little fun. All right. We're going to go with De'Aaron Fox and Jack Gurr.
Okay.
It's a speed-related element, the relentlessness element. Obviously, Fox a little more of a scoring threat, but Jack Gurr, scoring threat this year. They're both a little on the shorter, smaller side, but they are gritty. They fight like hell, and they're probably the fastest guys on the field. What do you think?
Yeah, the pace and the speed is what makes this comp very understandable, Connor. I mean, I think De'Aaron, this is the idea that if the best athletes in the United States, all of them were playing soccer primarily the same way we see in Brazil and Argentina and over in England and things like that, like, what would that look like? Because I think De'Aaron Fox on the wing would be terrifying. Yeah. I don't know if his finishing and scoring would be as good in soccer as it is in basketball. If that were the case, then maybe Russell Cicerone would have to sneak in there a little bit with a comp. So maybe a tiny bit of Cicerone in there, but I like the Jack Gurr comp because I've seen how much of an impact he can have on the wing, plus the amount of space that both of those guys can cover in such a quick period of time. I mean, De'Aaron Fox can get up and down the floor in a fast break and score with 4 or 5 seconds taken off the shot clock. Jack Gurr will be back in a defensive position, and all of a sudden he's crossing a ball in on the attacking wing. So I like that comp a lot.
You like it? All right. But I'm with you. The Cicerone ones, it's tough, man, because I was like, all right, are they a scorer or how? So I've been trying to find little elements. Okay, next one, little bit different. This is for stat leaders, just guys who've put up big stats on the club, on the Kings. So it's I put DeMarcus Cousins and Cam Iwasa.
DeMarcus Cousins and Cameron Iwasa. Well, here's the thing. Cam Iwasa is a far nicer person than DeMarcus Cousins was. And I love Cam Iwasa. Cam's got that little edge. He's got that mean streak. Yeah. And I've seen Cam in action, of course, on the pitch. And then I've played golf with Cam Iwasa, which made me hate him more because he's so dang good at golf. And I am not. But, Cam, of course, he's forever a Sacramento legend, not just because he's a hometown guy and he's connected with this community so well, but like you said, he's put so many stats, his assists, of course, his goals that he scored, and DeMarcus Cousins is up there with numbers. The difference is if there's a retired jersey ring of honor in the Republic's history, or in the Republic's future, I should say, compared to the retired jerseys that the Kings have in the Golden One Center, we're far more likely to see Iwasa than we're going to see DeMarcus Cousins up in the Raptors.
That's a good point. The community thing is also a good point. Cam, important to the community. DeMarcus Cousins also was big in the community as well.
Maybe Cam might get a little bit of Domantas Sabonis too with the numbers that he can put up too, because Sabonis can
that's a
fill
good
up
one. I like it.
Sabonis
Okay,
can fill up some stat sheets.
I have a Sabonis one in a second, but this is purely, this next one is purely, this has nothing to do with game. This is not game related at all. Has nothing to do with how good you are on the court or on the field. This is specifically beard related.
Okay.
Danny Vitiello and Quincy Acey.
I can see it. I can see it with the pointed beard. Quincy, I loved Quincy. And Quincy's had that fire to him. Quincy would dunk and flex, and I know Danny's got that fire too. Whether he's on he's in the back and yelling at his defenders and telling people where to go, or I've seen Danny with his massive saves. Right, thinking back to Sporting Kansas City and the save that he had taken away, followed by the save that he made that was the match winning save and penalties, and his reaction to that. Yeah. Other than the Rodrigo Lopez goal, which was pretty incredible too. But I like that for the beard standpoint too, the fire and the passion that they play with. Quincy Acey was a top tier guy. Danny is as well. The difference is Danny is a little more impactful of an actual player for the team than Quincy was, but I like that comp a lot.
Yeah, that was just a fun one. All right, this next one is my favorite one. I think it makes the most sense of all of these so far. And this is about legendary big moments. I got Rodrigo Lopez and Mike Bibby.
Ooh.
So I think about the Bibby shot. I think about multiple shots that he made at the end of games. I think about Roro in the Open Cup game against San Jose, the Sporting Kansas City penalty kick, the miracle at Bonnie, big goals. What do you think?
I like it. It makes complete sense to me. Yeah, the miracle at Bonnie is the epitome of Mike's shot in Game 5. So 100%, I understand that comp. I feel that comp. Mike's hit some big shots throughout his career. I just mentioned the Rodrigo Lopez game winner, match winner in PKs against Sporting Kansas City. And Roro's also had some ridiculous half or middle of the pitch goals and stuff like that. And Mike hit a few half court shots in his career for Sacramento. Yeah. So I like that comp a lot. I also do think there's a little bit of Chris Webber and Rodrigo Lopez in the sense that, you talk about names that are synonymous with a club. Rodrigo has cemented himself as, you think Republic FC soccer, you think about Rodrigo Lopez. You think about Sacramento Kings basketball. People see that old Kings logo, and it's Chris Webber's face and number that immediately comes to mind. Yeah. That's what I think Rodrigo's legacy is now, and it's going to continue to be once he decides to hang him up, which I hope isn't anytime soon. I'm so glad to see him back.
I like it. That's a good point. The Weber one's good. So listen, I had a hard time with some of the 2001 through 2006 guys. I was trying to think of a Stojakovic one. All right, who's a guy who had a bunch of long shots from Sacramento? Couldn't really think of somebody. Divock was also tough. So listen, if you have one, feel free to throw it in. But here's my next one. It's my last one that I have written down. And this is a guy who's in the trenches. He's tough, gritty. It's Domantas Sabonis and Connor Donovan.
I was going to say, I hope you had Connor Donovan in there with some kind of Sabonis comp, because you talk about two guys that just get banged up. Like poor Sabonis on the Kings side. It's our joke is oh, Sabonis was hit in the face again. Okay, take a drink. It happens every single game, usually multiple times a game. And it's because they put themselves in that position, right? And here's Donovan that just he's that enforcer on the back line. He's someone that's just so involved, so aggressive. So I love that comp a lot, because I think Donovan is he wears that captain armband. He's a leader for so many reasons, and just the physicality that he plays with. You have to kind of, and I think Domantas Sabonis, I don't think he's agile enough to be a keeper for his size. So I like the idea of Sabonis kind of as a center back if you were playing soccer, because I don't know if you try to cross in the box anywhere near Sabonis, I don't think anybody in their right mind is winning that header other than Domas.
Right, exactly. And I was trying to think, I think it was Lauri Markkanen's brother played for Orange County SC as a striker. I think that was right.
I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
I might be wrong on that. I can't remember, but it was a couple years ago, and it was like a 6'6" striker, and I was like, "Is that?" And his last name, it was either Markkanen or it was somebody else, but it was an NBA brother. But anyway, so I like the. Here's the thing I like about about the Connor Donovan Sabonis one. Connor Donovan also ability to score. He scored in the New Mexico game in the playoffs. Will go absolutely put his body on the line to get a header or to clear a ball or to score a goal, whatever it is. Sabonis, I feel like, is the exact same way. So those are two guys I liked. I was trying to think of a hair comp for Russell Cicerone. I couldn't really come up with one. Maybe you could like make the Slamson case, like Cicerone and Slamson with the.
They've got the flowing locks.
The flow,
got the locks.
Yeah, that's a good one. Any others you can think of on the top of your head? Again, it's hard to go from like the legends. That's the hard part. When you go like we did Bibby, we did DeMarcus Cousins, we did Fox, we did Sabonis. Yeah, I just think it gets tough. But listen, I think that's a good, like, it's hard. Soccer and basketball, very different. I feel like we got some good ones in there. Any others you want to add?
The only name that came to mind a little bit, I'm trying. I don't know if this makes sense, but the only name that kind of came to mind when thinking about Peja and long shots was Luis Felipe.
Oh, that's a good one.
Felipe's had a couple of just screamers from top of the box or outside of the box. That's the epitome of like a big corner three that Peja was known for.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of that in there. And then I'm sure there's a lot of Republic players on the defensive side that have a little bit of Doug Christie in them, which is the relentless kind of defense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. That's good. I agree with you on the Felipe one. Felipe, a little better defender than Peja. A little bit better defender.
Significantly, I would say.
All right. Well, last thing before we let you go, man. So we texted about this because I was concerned for your safety. You did a hot sauce. You lost a bet to Kyle Madsen. Did a hot sauce. You texted me, what hot sauce should I do? I sent you a picture of the bomb, which I have had in the past. What was your how did that go?
I guarantee you, Connor, I had a smaller dab than you. I guarantee you, but it still just ruined me, right? And it was here's the thing, I don't drink milk. Like I'm lactose intolerant when it comes to straight milk. I can have stuff with milk in it, so I'm like a weird lactose intolerant. But if I drink milk straight, like it does not go well for me. So I didn't have that lifeline available. Of course, when I made the mistake of posting online that I was going to be having to bomb, suddenly all the Twitter doctors and all the social media doctors out there started giving me all these remedies of things that could help.
Did they help?
Not at all. I mean, it's you take a sip of something, ice cold water, ice cream, anything like juice. There's so many different things that they told me to try. And there's a half second of relief when everything is just immediately touching like your tongue, right? And then you swallow and it's over.
You got to hold the milk in your mouth is what I learned.
Yeah, couldn't do that. And
I know.
And it's hard on a podcast, as you know. We got to still talk. We have to be still at least involved in so it ruined me. It kicked my butt. I don't know if I'd ever willingly do it again. The thing that stuck with me more than the heat is the taste, man. That thing is just such a chemical taste. It's a fun experience. If you think you're a spice person, give Da Bomb a try. It's not hard to get. And tell me how you do, because you'll probably do better than me.
I mean, listen, I was nervous when you're like, I don't do well with spice and I can't do it. And I was like, oh no, I'm concerned for Matt's safety. And so then I texted you, how did it go? And you didn't respond for a while. And I was like, oh no,
he's dead. He's gone.
Oh no, it went real bad.
So because I did it at the ABC 10 studios. That's where I did it before my shift started that day. So that video made it around the studio and so many people got a kick out of it. And then I had two of my producers come up to me, and one of them is she comes up to me and she goes, like, that's it? Come on, I could do that. So she tried it. And then one of our digital producers, Eric, tried it. And Eric makes his own super spicy stuff at home. The dude didn't flinch, Connor. He took a dab, took a bite, did not flinch the entire time, didn't sweat or anything, just continued to go about his work. He said, yeah, it's hot, but that was the most that he said. My other coworker who told me, or who said that was it when she saw the dab that I took, she ended up having like 7 popsicles before she got any kind of relief. So
yeah, there you go.
It made its way around the newsroom.
My issue was my problem is I did it with Shannon and Jaime originally, and then players saw it and they're like, oh, that's funny. It was fun. And then we did it again with Duke Lacroix. Which was brutal. And he, again, acted like it was no big deal. Zico Lewis then just out of nowhere when we were recording a podcast this year brought his own hot sauce from Bermuda.
No.
It's called Flatline. And it was very similar. It was bad. And so like I feel like I've created a thing now, Matt, where it's like players want to do this. But it's more of they just want to see me suffer. So I feel like I just got to shut it down once and for all. Just say, hey, we're no more doing this hot stuff garbage because it's brutal. The Flatline one was very hard. It was tough. Like the hot chip was a lot. It was just big, and you're not supposed to do that anymore. So please don't try that, FYI. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's an experience. Like if you watch the show Hot Ones, right? Your walls come down. So it's a good interview tactic, except for if you're the person who's supposed to be focused and you can't focus because you're going through it.
Right.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to do the flatline hot sauce because you have to like mentally prepare yourself to know what you're going to go through versus spontaneously having it dropped on you. I think I would have been an absolute shambles. Number one. Number two is, Connor, you're my guy. But I don't know if the players are going to allow you to get rid of it once and for all if you continue to jump out of bushes with ghillie suits at them. That's their revenge tactic. So,
do you like that?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought you were going to. I'm amazed you didn't get swung on. I'm amazed.
I mentally prepared to get hit. Mentally prepared because, first off, it was at 7:30 in the morning. The guys were half asleep walking in to get dressed for training. So they're half asleep, not really paying that close attention. In a spot where we never film, right? I was ready to get hit, and I almost did. I thought Jack Gurr was going to unleash on me, but he just swore 7 or 8 times continuously. Carlos almost hit me, and Jared Timmer, he almost had an early bathroom trip. Let's just put it that way.
You're well loved. You're well loved in the organization, and rightfully so. But I will not be surprised if one of these days you're at a training, just perusing the sidelines, just watching it, and either a ball comes your way or an errant slide tackle hits you in the back of the leg. Just, oops, sorry, Connor. Didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, it's coming. That's all right. I deserve it.
Get it on camera. Get it on camera.
That's right. Get it on camera. Well, Matt George, this was a blast, buddy. It's good to see you. Thank you for doing this. This was a lot of fun and exciting times in Sacramento with the Kings in the in-season tournament tonight. Hopefully they win in advance, and that's what's cool is it helps the regular season record, but also helps their chance to further on and move on to Vegas. So it's very exciting stuff.
I miss you, brother. This was so much fun to do. It's a pleasure to be back here. Hopefully we can do it again. You and your team do such a phenomenal job at Heart Health Park. You did all season long this year. It was such a fun year for the Republic, and I'm looking forward to that continuing. And I'm only a little bit bitter that now that the pregame keys to the game, that Cam Awasa does it with you, which is a phenomenal upgrade over me. That the beer helmets came out for him, the beer hat came out for him and not me. I'm a little bit bitter about that, but listen, Cam can throw it back, so I appreciate it.
You want to come and join? You just let me know, man.
I'm there for the helmet.
Listen, all right, well, let's do it. Let's figure out a game, and we'll make it happen. I'll
have to be off the clock. I won't be there for ABC 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably why. Listen, I'm the only person who can drink on the clock. I think that's how it works. I didn't make the rules, so
when I grow up, I want to be Connor Sutton.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much. And obviously, check out Matt's podcast, Locked On Kings, and on ABC 10 tonight. I'm assuming, right? You're going to be doing some post-game stuff tonight?
Win or lose, after every game, we got a podcast going. Very similar to the Breakaway. We'll get you ready for matches, recap matches. That's what we do.
All right, buddy. Well, appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.